Hello and welcome. This is Attract More Abundance Now. My name is Kitty Coy, and I am so happy to be here with you today, sharing this amazing subject. I'm really passionate about it. I'll go ahead and take a minute to introduce myself. I have a neuroscience degree from CU Boulder. Specifically, I have a master's degree in integrative physiology, a bachelor's degree, which is the study of the body, a bachelor's degree in psychology, the study of the mind, and my minor was in neuroscience. So that's another degree specifically studying the brain. And I was so passionate about going into neuroscience because of the placebo effect and how we can talk ourselves in and out of getting sick. And just even since I was a small child, it fascinated me how the brain, the body, and the mind can interact and affect each other. After school, well, actually, a little bit before I graduated, I worked for 10 years as a behavioral neuroscience researcher, which is a fancy way of saying I studied how the structure of your brain affects your behavior and how your behavior actually changes and affects the structure of your brain. After a decade of being in science at all levels, I did drug development testing for the FDA and clinical research and really interesting things. I decided I wanted to branch out and I became a magnetic mind coach. So I've been a coach for 7 years. I've been a magnetic mind coach for five of those years. And specifically, I love working with driven female entrepreneurs, and the magnetic mind process is there's only a couple steps and you'll learn about them today, how to do them. Get crystal clear on your desire, release the resistance to taking action, which resistance looks like fear, self-doubt, procrastination, unworthiness, whatever that is. Releasing that resistance so we can effortlessly take action steps towards our goals. And when you know what you want, you release the resistance to having it and you take action steps in that direction, you magically become magnetic for whatever you desire. And we'll go deep into that today. So I'll leave that there. I'm certified in meditation, mindset, NLP, superconscious recoding, you name it. If it is a neuroscience based certification, I have it because this is something I'm deeply passionate about. And I am a manifesting machine. In the last 3 years, I've manifested 10 of my lifetime bucket list achievements. I published a book and become a best-selling author. I've opened a clinic. I'm trying to even think. I hiked the Inca Trail, and that was just a completely divine trip that fell in my lap, and everything was perfectly divined and handed to me on a silver platter. And then there was one year in 2018, I manifested 7 free vacations in a year. I am truly a manifesting machine. And surprise, you are also a manifesting machine. We are always manifesting all the time already. And the question is, are you manifesting your wildest dreams or sometimes still your worst nightmares? Because we are always, everything they say that, everything is made twice, once in the mind and then once in real life. So, really, what we're focusing our energy and attention on in our mind is actually metastasizing, like really showing up in our real life. So, we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to just get on the same page about manifesting. If you have any practice with manifesting, feel free to put something in the chat. I always like to hear what people's experience is. But really, manifesting is focusing your thoughts on something that you want to bring to life, and it's really just turning your thoughts into things. And I love this quote from Albert Einstein from about 100 years ago. Actually, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want to create, and you cannot help but create that reality. It can be no other way. This is not a philosophy, it is quantum physics. So, even Albert Einstein was saying 100 years ago that the most important thing we can do is match the frequency of what we want to create. And you might have heard that said, you need to be it to see it in your life. But that is oftentimes easier said than done. So I'm going to share with you the tips on how to do it today. Today, we're going to talk about the quantum physics and just briefly about the quantum physics and neuroscience and manifestation. We're going to talk about what blocks us from creating and attracting abundance in our lives, the challenges that everyone faces when it comes to manifestation. We're going to go through some fun exercises. I'm going to talk about how neuroscience makes everything easier. And then I will give you the 4 step recipe that is tried and true for manifesting whatever you want in your life. All right. So the number one myth around manifestation, I love the book and the movie The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, but she had some subtext written in there. She didn't write explicitly part of the equation. It was implied or inferred. And so popular media completely ignored that part and created this myth that all you need to do is think positive thoughts and positive things will come into your life. And I'll talk about in just a minute how that is true a little bit, like it's partially true. But if you want something very specific to manifest in your life, you can't just sit around forever hoping that it happens to you. Although visualization and meditation and all these things are great, you could spend the rest of your life or 25 years, let's say, visualizing this perfect lake house and meditating and keeping your vibration high and being in the positive thought space. But if you never leave your house, it is highly unlikely that someone will walk in your front door and hand you a deed to a lake house that you've been dreaming about. So, the number one myth is you need to take action. Whatever you want to create in your life, the most important thing you need to do is take action. And so this is I just want to tell you the story of my clinic. My husband and I are in the photo, high-fiving in front of my wellness center, Tranquility Wellness Center. And the fun story about this is I'd been wanting to open a wellness center for like 4 or more years. And I'd been visualizing it every day and I knew exactly what I wanted. And yet I was very scared to take action to go from an online coach to owning a brick and mortar. Having rent and all of these things felt very scary to me. So I just kept not taking action. And I had a coach that when I was talking about my vision of this, she's like, well, wait, what action steps are you taking towards this part of your dream? And I gave her 10 minutes of excuses why it wouldn't work. But here's the thing. This conversation happened on May 5th, 2020, and she was asking me why shouldn't I open a wellness center? Well, wellness centers weren't even open. They were barely opening back up in the Denver area. So like, do I want a brick and mortar? What if the world shuts down? All of these crazy fears ran through my mind. And she looked at me and she was like, "Okay, I accept those reasons now. What was your excuse 6 months ago?" And I was like, "Oh, I am being very called out right now." And it was really just fear that was keeping me and not taking action. And so she gave me the opportunity to like basically challenge me to take action. So I meditated and I reflected on it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could help someone else open their clinic. Because at the time, wellness centers like chiropractors' offices or massage therapists were just reopening, but they had all this protective equipment and all of these new rules and regulation and paperwork and safety stuff to keep people from getting COVID. And I was watching all of these wellness practitioners in my community be really overwhelmed trying to manage clients and all of the PPE and the new stuff. And so I had this idea. I was like, what if I use my extensive project management experience and I could work with a chiropractor, for example, maybe, and I could help them open their clinic. And I'll handle the all the PPE and the paperwork and the regulations and whatever they need to do to make sure that they're safe and following the laws. And they can just focus on their clients. And in exchange for my project management help, they could mentor me in sales tax and what it's like to run a clinic, like what you need to think about. And so I got really clear. I was like, yes, this is my action step. I'm going to manage somebody else's clinic. I wrote down on a list the three things I wanted it to have. I wanted it to be within 15 minutes of my house, so it wasn't a big long drive. I wanted it to be 3 to 5 hours a week. And I wanted that person to be as deeply invested in my success as I was invested in theirs, because I show up at 110% in everything I do. I wanted them to be equally invested in mentoring me. And I was like, well, how do you get a job? I don't know. I'll write a resume. That was the only action step I could think of at the time. And so I started writing this resume detailing my project management experience. And I was like, I don't even know what step two is. I guess I'll just go start handing my resume out. I don't even know. And 3 or 5 days later, after I'd worked on this resume, I found myself in a connect, just a friendly connect with somebody I'd met 3 years ago, but we hadn't talked in 2 or 3 years. And I ended the call with, how can I support you? And she's like, well, she's a wellness practitioner. She's like, well, do you know anybody who wants to manage a clinic? I'm moving to Arizona and I want to keep my clinic open to work with people remotely in the Denver area for at least a year, maybe two. And then I will move my entire business to Arizona. But do you know anybody in the meantime that would want to manage my clinic? And I was like, tell me more. It's 14 minutes from my house. It's 3 to 5 hours a week. And she wanted the person that managed the clinic to eventually take over that space because it had been a wellness center for like 12 years in this specific unit. And she wanted to keep that in the community, which hit all three. So not only did she want to mentor me, she wanted to hand me the furniture, the equipment, and the lease on a silver platter. So this is one of the amazing things I manifested. But one of the things I want to highlight and why I like to tell the story is it doesn't have to be the right action. And I think we get hung up for decades in what is the right action I can take in increasing my abundance, let's say. But here's the thing is no one ever saw my resume, but just the act of taking action in the 3D world, it was the best action I could think of at the time. That is what it took. So it's not always, don't get hung up on the best, the most effective action, because sometimes just the act of taking the action that's available to you is exactly what you need to do to manifest whatever you want. And let's talk about the science of behind how that works. So the science of manifesting, everything is energy. Albert Einstein said that, and I'm willing to trust him as an expert in quantum physics. And if everything is energy, then each thought, each belief, and each emotion literally has a frequency and energy to it, and it creates this energetic field around us all together. Because as a frame of reference, you have 80,000 thoughts on average every day. You have 128 emotions, and you can cycle through every single one of them multiple times a day. And you can have tens of thousands of beliefs at any given moment. So, all of these things in your head, you're in your conscious mind and your subconscious mind project an energy, and it literally creates this energetic field. The shape is called a torus. And this picture is credited to heart math because heart math has actually proved something that yogis and Ayurveda and ancient Chinese medicine has been saying for centuries, that we have this energetic field around us. But now we can actually measure this field. And so the field again is created by your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs. That's what you're putting out there, and it becomes like antenna or like tuning onto a radio station. So if you're having a bad day, you're putting out the vibes of, or the thought and the emotion and the belief, I'm having a bad day. You actually attract more things because like attracts like. We'll get into that in a minute. But you're actually putting out the energy to attract more things that will reinforce a bad day, because emotions and have specific energies that attract the same energy to them. Like attracts like, and love attracts love. And so this image is a really cool image. It's from the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. He calls it the map of consciousness, but really it's a frequency chart of emotions, is what I would describe it as. And notice that each and every emotion has a very specific energy level associated with it. And there's no such thing as a good emotion or a bad emotion. They all have their place in life. But notice the emotions you probably want to be spending less time in have a lower number than the emotions you definitely want to be spending more of your life in. And whatever, again, the emotional frequency that you're on, emotional place you're in, if you're in a place of love, you attract more things that make you feel in love. And I had a direct experience of this when I was in the honeymoon stage of my relationship with my husband. My life was spectacular. Everything was amazing. My job that I had no promotional ability in suddenly like created a position just for me. And all these, everybody wanted to be my friend. I got gifts, I received money, all of these things like spontaneously. I just was manifesting just a good day every day. And I had like a half a year where every day I was like, my life, how is every day was just better than the last? How does this work? Because I was living in this place of joy and love every day. So I was putting that out in my energetic field and attracting more things that bring me joy and love. And I want to mention gratitude as an emotion. You might notice that gratitude is actually not on this chart, but it is measured as 900, which is well into enlightenment. And abundance, the frequency, the emotion or energetic frequency of abundance is 888. So gratitude and abundance are right next to each other on the emotional frequency chart. So let's say you're in a place of fear or guilt or anger. Whenever you're ready to transmute and change that emotion, gratitude is the answer. And I got really, when I was in the darkest depression of my life, and someone's like, do a gratitude journal, I didn't like that answer. But once I understood the science behind it, is I was living in these lower level emotions. Like, let's say 100 was my average, and then for the 5 minutes I was doing the gratitude practice, I would pop up to 900. And the cool thing about gratitude, and then I would go probably back down here, but it was still over the average of all the emotion in the day. If we added up the numbers, I was still raising my emotion. And the more I practiced gratitude, I literally pulled myself up this chart and into a place of love and joy from a deep, dark depression. So, gratitude is the best emotion you can use to transmute and increase increase your vibe, but it's really your energetic emotional frequency. So, a little bit about the quantum physics. There is one specific experiment that really explains how manifestation works on a very deep level. It's called the double slit experiment. And I just want to share before we get started, this is not a trick of like zooming in the camera. This is actually to the same zoomed in size. So, this double slit experiment, they scientists in 1927 wanted to know, what does an electron look like what is its shape? So they have this machine that fires a single electron at a time, and they turn the machine through a piece of gold paper that has two slits on it, and then onto photoreactive paper, which is what this is an image of. So they're so excited. They turn on the machine and they watch it. And every time the electron fires, it shows up as a particle. When they were watching it, it shows up in this observed pattern. And then after watching it 5 or 6 or 10 times, they turned the machine on, but they went to lunch. They came back from lunch, and all of a sudden it was showing up as this not observed pattern. This is a wave pattern. And so they started replicating. They've actually continuously been doing this experiment for 98 years to understand the edges of how it works. But what they found is when no one is watching it, it shows up as not observed. When an animal or AI or a robot or a computer is watching it, it shows up as not observed. If someone is watching a recording later, it shows up as not observed. And they've done all sorts of different variations on those things. I'm just paraphrasing. But the coolest part of this experiment, the coolest variation is they had a live stream that literally showed the electrons firing on a live stream, but the person watching it was on the other side of the world, 5,000 miles away. And the electron firing machine showed up as observed, even though the only person watching it was around the world. How on earth did the electron firing machine know it was being watched actively? Because they had live streams where no one was watching it live, and that showed up as not observed. But even though that person was 5,000 miles away, the electron firing machine still knew that it was being watched. The moral of this story is electrons act differently when you consciously observe them with a human consciousness. So let's take that a step further. Your consciousness affects matter and actually changes the outcome in the 3D world. Like, how amazing and how incredible is that? Literally, the act of putting your attention on something changed the result. So, why this is amazing for manifesting is observing your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors changes the outcome in the world. So, if what you want to create is more money, and you take actions to notice your thoughts around money and shift them to be more positive. You work on improving your emotions around money, releasing the negative emotions, replacing them with positive emotions. You start taking different actions and behaviors around money. You change your relationship with money. You will actually increase your ability to receive more money. And the opposite is true as well. If what you want is more money, but you don't take any action steps towards creating it, you actually decrease the likelihood you're going to receive more money. And that's unfortunately the scenario many people find themselves in when they have anxiety around money. They stop looking at money. They're not inspired. They're in these lower vibrational emotions, anxiety, apathy, or guilt around money. And that causes them to not look at it. And then they actually make it harder for them to receive money. So the question begs, what actions are you taking or not taking? And so taking action is, and this is just notice without judging where you are, just I always like to say open-hearted curiosity at your current situation. Are you taking intentional actions to grow your money or generate more sales in your business? Like, do you have a plan for a strategic plan for how to increase, like, or maybe a specific marketing plan you're implementing, or you're working on investing, you're working with a financial planner? Are you taking intentional actions to make more money? Are you practicing being smart with money? And I say being smart, but wealthy people understand how money works and they use their money to make more money because they know how to, like, consistent compounding action works and all of these things. They actively pursue financial opportunities that are in alignment with making more money. So are you practicing being smart with your money like a wealthy person does? And again, learning about how money works is one of the best ways to do that. Or are you not currently taking actions? And again, there's no judgment, no wrong answers, just notice which place resonates more with what you're currently doing. When we're not taking action or we're avoiding money, we do things like we wait for sales or clients to come to us. We depend on other people in our lives to handle money for us. Like, we're like, well, I have an accountant and they'll tell me what I need to do, but I don't take the time. So like I used to be a money avoider. By the way, all of this stuff is from personal experience. So there's no judgment, there's lots of love. And I used to rely on my bookkeeper and my accountant to tell me what was going on. And at any given moment, I had no idea what my business was making or how much money I had in the bank or how much my retirement, I had no idea. And I was depending on other people to manage it for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm working with experts. But now I hire those experts to teach me and keep me updated versus you deal with it for me. There's a very different attitude and energy behind those. So the the next step is, if you want to attract more abundance, you can improve your relationship with money. And so notice, how do you talk about money? What are the words you use when you talk about money? Do you say things like, there's not enough. I can't afford that right now. These are really negative and limiting words around money. So just notice, how do you talk about the presence of money? And if you walk away from this presentation with only one thing, I hope it is this statement: never again say, I can't afford it, and switch that statement to, I'm choosing not to invest in this right now. Even if you're choosing not to invest in it right now because you only have $5 to your name, don't ever say I can't afford it, because that keeps you, the energy is very heavy, very guilt and anxiety. Like we talked about that emotional frequency chart, you're really low, it's laying in the bottom level. And the higher the number, the better the things you attract to yourself. And so when I was attracting 7 free vacations to myself in the year, and that was a couple years into my relationship with my husband, but I was living in this place of peace and joy and love. And that's what I was attracting, all those amazing things. And it was effortless. When you're in the energy of I can't afford it, you will attract more reasons in your life that you can't afford things. So please shift your language. I mean, obviously do whatever you're going to do, but I would recommend shifting your language to, I choose not to invest in that right now. And can you improve your attitude and your gratitude around money? I have a bunch of practices. We'll go through some today. I'm happy to send, I have a resource sheet, 6 ways to improve abundance in your life. And so anyways, I'll send you that resource tip sheet. But when you can increase your attitude around, or improve your attitude around money, increase the gratitude for the money you already have, you pull yourself up to that 900 frequency, which makes it easier to attract more abundance. So in my field, I think I find that neuroscience is the answer to get wherever you're going faster, quicker, and much, much easier is using neuroscience. So that's literally because, and I'm also a neuroscientist, so I'm a little biased in that, but the results I see in people are astounding. Where, like, when I was working with life coaches and other people that would say, "Oh, I'll help you shift your limiting beliefs," it would take 3, 4, 5 months for me to see results in my life for me to shift my beliefs. I can do it in 5 minutes with neuroscience. And so when it's easier and you can go farther faster. So that's why I think neuroscience is the answer to shifting your mindset and improving everything in your life, especially around money. I have a biofeedback device that I work with that rewires your brain. And I actually found that, and I worked with it on money, and my emotions I had around money were sadness and anxiety. We changed the neural pathways in my brain to rewire money to happiness and excitement. And it is crazy how much I literally quadrupled my income in 2 weeks because, and mind you, this is the very beginning of my business. So I was going from a few $100s to a few $1,000s, but it was still a huge difference in my quality of life and impact. So I'm a huge proponent for neuroscience. And I'm going to send you a recording. I don't have time to do it today on the call. It's a 30-minute recording that you'll watch, but it will instantly improve your relationship with money in that 30-minute call or in that 30-minute recording. It's a neuro linguistic process called the perceptual shift. Sometimes they call it 3 chairs. And it's a really, really, really cool process that helps you release old beliefs and thoughts and emotions around money that are no longer serving you. You literally upgrade your attitude, your thoughts, your energy, your beliefs, your emotions around money. And so, what that does is it changes how you think and feel about money instantaneously. And in this example, it is in 30 minutes, but that 30-minute upgrade to receive more money is pretty quick when you think about the traditional methods that you might have been working on. So I will send you that recording that you can watch. You're welcome to do it. It's my secret superpower is all of these neuroscience things. So I'm happy to share it. And so I already said this, you're going to get a recording of it. So now let's jump into the major challenges and the solutions to them around how do you manifest more money in your life. So the number one, and these are in no particular order, I just numbered them to be easier, is we're too attached to the outcome or the path of receiving money. And so how I found this out in my personal life is I really wanted to go to Greece. And I had been planning this specific event. I wanted to go for 14 years to this trip to Greece, and it was a very specific event that happened every September. And we got really, really, really close to going in 2023. And then we chose not to invest in that because it just wasn't a wise financial decision to take on that amount of, like, basically we were going to have to pay everything on a credit card. And it was a huge amount. So, anyways, after that, I got really serious. I was like, I've been dreaming of it for 14 years. It was so close and it slipped through my fingers. So I got really clear that I needed to get better at improving my manifesting. Even though I was already working on manifesting, I needed to get more precise. So I started looking at all my personal practices, and I noticed that I had a manifestation power statement that says, I want to make more money in my business. And it's actually the in my business part of this. There's 2 things wrong with this want. We'll talk about that in a minute. The word want is a very low vibrational because it comes from, like, scarcity. Like, I want that, but I don't have it now. And then in my business. So what was happening is I was making money and I was like, but I'm an entrepreneur. I make money through my business. So, like, what doesn't it make sense that I want to make more money through my business? But what was happening is I was doing all of these energetic practices and mindset shifting. I was improving my relationship with money. And I was actually getting money from all of these channels outside of my business. But I was so binocular focused on the money coming through my business, which was going up, but it would go boop, 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 boop. And I was doing so many practices every day. I got really frustrated. So what did I do? Instead of being this place of love and joy and peace around money, I got into anxiety and anger, and I literally, the emotions changed and decreased my vibration. And so why I was so attached to the outcome of the money, I was blind to the money I was receiving outside of me. And so we want to think about manifestation like ordering in a restaurant. You want to be clear and precise about what you want. I would like a Western omelet, and instead of toast, I would like a fruit bowl. but you don't want to be so attached to the when you're ordering that you follow the wait staff into the kitchen and tell this guy how to make you an omelet. You just place your order of what you want and then release and trust that it's going to come to you. So be clear and specific, let go of the outcome. And I often say this or something even better still. Because there's been so many times in my life, like take the example of my clinic, that I manifested something 10 times better than my wildest dreams. So when we let go of the outcome, we actually allow something better to come to us. And in talking about this to wrap up the story of the Greece trip, I started tracking the money that was coming to me, and I started to notice that I was receiving money every single day, even if it was a penny on the sidewalk. Abundance was coming to me every single day. And in 8 months, I manifested $6,000 outside of my business in things like money found on the sidewalk and people like walking up and giving me money for no reason. I don't have time to get into some of the stories, but like literally, I had 3 different times where people walked up and gave me exactly $300 for absolutely no reason at all. And so anyways, I made $6,000 outside of my business, but in that 8 months, I made 14,000 unexpected dollars inside of my business. So altogether, I made $22,000 in 8 months that I was not expecting because I changed my manifestation power statement. So we'll talk about that in a minute and what that is. So one of the other challenges we face around manifestation is it's not a real desire. And it needs to be a real desire for you to be able to manifest it. And a real desire means something you want because you want it. There's no secondary intentions, there's nothing behind it. And so that trip to Greece, I wanted to go to Greece because I wanted to go to Greece. And so your real desire is something you want to be, do, or have the experience of. But here's the kicker: money is not a desire, let alone a real desire. We don't want money. We want what money is going to get us. So we spend, when we're focused on generating more money in our lives, when I have more money, then I can be free. You don't want money, you want freedom, whatever that means. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, because you can't manifest freedom either. But it's really about digging in. What do you actually desire? This is the most challenging part of manifesting, is getting through the layers of what you've created, the stories that you've made up, and just getting to what do you want because you want it and no other reason than that. So this is a beginning. We're going to go through an exercise really quick. What do you really want? Let's say you want $1 million today, but you can't pay off debt. You can't invest it in a savings account or in a retirement account, and you can't give a penny of it away. What would you do with that money? Just take a minute and think about what would you do with $1 million. And if you want to put it in the chat, I always love to see what people's answers are, and I can support you. If you're, I can support you in some laser coaching if you decide you want to put whatever you would buy in the chat. Again, no pressure, but I just wanted to share in any given moment, if you think about it, you can pop it in the chat. But the answer to this question, I call it the $1 million question. However you answer that question is what you actually want, and that's what you can actually manifest. So sometimes people say, I want the house of my dreams. I want a new car. I want a vacation. I want to take my family to Disneyland. Those are the actual desires. It's not the money, it's what the money is going to get you. So however you answer that question, yes, a new car, redesign your office with new furniture. I love it. Buy a house, travel. Yes, those are real desires. So I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And I would sit with this until you price out actually up to what you estimate $1 million. Like, let's say your dream home, like look for homes in your area. That's going to cost you 475,000. I'm making up numbers. What are you going to do with the other 525,000? And so like, if you actually take time to do this exercise and again, kind of shop with this imaginary $1 million, it'll be amazing. Oh, you want a ranch? I love it. Fabulous. So thank you guys for sharing. So I also want to share the 7 things you absolutely cannot manifest. And the reason why you cannot manifest these things is you cannot manifest abundance from scarcity. Again, you have to be it to see it. You have to be in the frequency of already having that experience for it to show up in your life. So, the reason I'm going to name these things and synonyms of these things, I like, because every once in a while, it used to only be like 3 things, and then people are using synonyms, and I've added up to 7 things you can't manifest. But if you actually had these things, you wouldn't want them. So that's like what I'm trying to say is you can't manifest comfort. If you were comfortable, you wouldn't think about comfort as something you desire. You can't manifest control. Control is a reaction to feeling unsafe. And if you felt safe, you wouldn't desire to have control. In fact, I've been focusing on how much control can I let go of in my life versus how much, manifesting control. Freedom, this one gets people all the time. If you were free already, if you felt free, you wouldn't want freedom, wouldn't be on your list. Independence, if you were independent, you wouldn't desire more independence. It's just a state of being you're already in. Safety, stability, and security. And I'll give a minute for you to write those down. But yeah, all of these 7 things you can't manifest because if you were safe, stable, or secure, you wouldn't, you don't care to have that. You would care to create an experience of being in love or whatever that is. If you were comfortable or independent, you wouldn't want more of that. So like when I think about what I want to go on a trip to Ibiza and rent a yacht. That's actually something I'm manifesting later this year for my birthday. I want to have an amazing retreat I'm hosting. I want to go to the Giza pyramids during the total solar eclipse in 2027. I want to remodel my house. I want to buy an RV. And by the way, it doesn't have to be tangible things. Like I want to go on the trip, all these trips because I want the experience of that. And I enjoy adventure and travel. So it's not like you just have to manifest a thing, a physical thing. You can manifest more than that. But if the reason why you want those things is because it boils down to when you dig into it, one of these 7, we need to keep digging until we get to the other side because these will block you from being able to receive any more abundance. So, challenge number 3 we face around manifestation is we do not yet have the identity of the version of us that has what we want. And so we don't identify as a rich person or a wealthy person. So let me tell you about a story about a man on a boat. And here, I'll take that bullet point down. This is a real life example from my mentor of a high level entrepreneur that had this beautiful lake on had a house on this beautiful lake in Australia. He had this amazing business that was thriving, but what he really wanted was a speedboat, a $250,000 fancy speedboat. And every time he got close to being able to buy it, his cars would break down in his business. Or every time he got close to, he would have to buy new equipment or something would happen. So he was on this roller coaster. Every time he got really close, it would slip through his fingers. And hasn't that, think about when that's happened to you. I know for me, that used to show up for years. Every single time I paid off my credit card, within 7 days, my Jeep broke down. And it happened like 7 times. It was ridiculous. And I was just like, every time I pay off my credit card, I know my Jeep's gonna break down. So I actually stopped paying off my credit card and my Jeep stopped breaking down. But it gets so frustrating. We're so close to having what we want, but we're in this problem-solving reality. So we don't have the identity of the version of us that has it already. Like I didn't have an identity of a person that was debt free. So I had to be back in debt with the car. So back to the man with the boat. He went to my mentor and said, okay, I want the speedboat and here's the deal. And my mentor said, oh, great. Easy problem to solve. Go buy a kayak. And the guy's like, no, I don't want a kayak. I want the speedboat, and every penny I make that I don't spend goes in an account to save for the speedboat. And my mentor lovingly said, shut up and buy a kayak. So the guy bought a kayak, started going out on the water and just having a blast. Because in reality, his actual desire of what he wanted was to spend time on the water. He thought it was the fancy speedboat, but he was getting a small experience of what he wanted in the kayak. And just the act of buying the kayak, all of a sudden, things started flowing easier in his business, and he didn't have these like swings backward. And so he went from a kayak, and I don't really know boat levels, but he went from a kayak to like a dinghy to a motorboat to some other boat. And it was basically a $500 boat to a $1,000 boat to a $10,000 boat to a $50,000 boat, $100,000 boat, $250,000 boat in 18 months. And he had been trying for 10 years to get this speedboat. But as soon as he created an identity as a boat owner, his subconscious stopped fighting him and just let him. He was safe as a boat owner, and his subconscious doesn't care if it's a kayak or a speedboat. You're a boat owner. So if you want to create the identity of you want, focus on where you already have what you want right now. If what you want is travel because you want to adventure, focus on how you can adventure in your own backyard and, like, be a tourist in your own town or do day trips. If what you want is and actually I have some bullet points. If what you want is more abundance, focus on where you already have abundance in your life. And there is a practice I'll send you in the PDF later today. That's the 6 ways to increase abundance in your life. And it's called the Abundance Already Gratitude Practice. It takes you through that. And it's a simple thing you can do. And it takes 5 minutes a day just to give gratitude for where you already have abundance. And then there's also an abundance tracking sheet, which acknowledges all the money that's already coming to you in your life. So these practices, again, you'll get the instructions and all of that with the recording for this. And I want you to track every single penny. Like one day I was cleaning off my desk and I found 17 cents. I went to my tracking sheet and wrote that down, because your brain filters information based on your beliefs. And my belief was money doesn't flow to me. So even though it started off as a penny on the sidewalk, $1 in a jacket pocket, $5 in an old purse, 17 cents on my desk, I was building a mountain of evidence to my subconscious that money does flow to me. And it was just like me buying that kayak, when I was like, oh yeah, money flows to me all the time, every single day. And I knew, because I was tracking my abundance, then money started flowing to me in bigger and bigger and bigger amounts. And that's literally how I manifested $6,000 in 8 months, was by one of the things was tracking every single penny that came to me. So the fourth reason we are block ourselves on receiving abundance or manifesting, and this is a general rule, not just around money, but it's around manifesting. We think that whatever we manifest is going to change us. When I have money, then I will feel happy. Or we could say, when I have the love of my life, then I will love myself. Or, when I lose the weight, then I'll take the boudoir pictures and I'll be confident. So what blocks us from manifesting what we want is thinking that our lives will be better when we have it. In all reality, and this is the crazy part to like get through your brain, so I'm not going to belabor it too much, but life will never be better than it is right now. I mean, because you're in a place where you're alive, you're working towards your dreams. Like when you can have gratitude, even if you're not in a place where you're living in your preference, maybe you're not making the money you want, you don't have the love that you want, whatever, you don't have the things you want, the more you can be grateful and enjoy life as you have it right now, that joy and that gratitude, the gratitude for where you are right now, allows you to receive more because of that frequency chart. You're actually pulling yourself up in these higher emotions. But when you think money's going to change you, you're in this place of anxiety or fear. When I get the money, I'll be up there. But right now I'm down here. It doesn't work that way. We need to bring ourselves up to the frequency of love and joy and peace and gratitude. And when we're in that place emotionally, money will just come. So money will not change you. You change your emotions and then money will come. It's backwards of what we think. So we can only manifest from a neutral place. And I talked about this earlier with the ordering example. Like I want to receive more money in my business. I dropped the want and I dropped the want and I dropped it in my business. And like think about it as a continuum, like water, or like like pH. Water is in the center, it's neutral, and then you got your acids over here and your bases over here. So that's a negative charge and a positive charge. And when you need something, I need money for me to be safe, you have a negative charge on the money. And when you want something, I want money, and when I have money, I will be happy, You have a positive charge on money because you think money's going to change you, but you can't manifest from a positive or a negative place. You can't. You have to be in this neutral place like water in the middle. And so the number one block that we have on manifesting is the traumas, the limiting beliefs, the emotional baggage that we carry around with us that puts us in a place where we think we need something to change for us to be happy, or we think we will be happy when things change. But in reality, like I said, both of those things block us from receiving. Because remember back to my very first slide, you are a manifesting machine already. You're just manifesting what you subconsciously believe that you deserve, not what you consciously want. And so you know what you believe you deserve because look around. Whatever you believe you deserve is whatever you have right now in your life. So just notice that. And mastery of manifestation. I like to use this manifestation power statement. It's like an affirmation, but it's more vibrationally aligned and significantly more powerful. I don't like affirmations that start with I am, because the reason why I don't like them is I say I'm a millionaire, and part of my subconscious mind says no, you're not, and you're like I am abundant. No, you're not. So your brain is actually like as much as you're consciously focusing on something, you're unconsciously fighting it. So a manifestation power statement always starts with the word I choose, because you can't fight I choose. And it's a neutral statement. I want, I need, I choose to create is in the center. That's the neutral pH, like water. So I choose to receive, and you can, I really like the word attract. You could say receive. I choose to receive more abundance. I choose to attract more abundance. It doesn't really matter which of these words you use, but it really does matter that you say I choose at the beginning. And you can say more money, more abundance. It really doesn't matter. Like it could be abundance or money. That's not a big deal. But don't add anything else. I choose to receive more money in my business. You like take off in your business. So this is the manifestation power statement that everyone can use. And I highly recommend. I have it on my lock screen. I have it on sticky notes. I have it on my background on my laptop. I have it on beautiful, like Canva created pictures all over the place. I choose to attract more abundance. So because even though I stop seeing those things, they're always programming my subconscious mind. And really the mastery part of manifestation is, can you be it now before you see the results in your life? Like, can you feel abundant when you only have $5 in your pocket? When you are in that place, you are a master of manifestation, and whatever you want, you can create. We can't always affect the timeline. It might not come exactly when you want, but I am often pleasantly surprised that, like, when I have a due date, I'm like, okay, I really need to enroll a new client so I can pay this really large bill or something that I got this. So by the end of the month, I do need a client. Time and time and time again, I'm able to manifest things on a pretty decent timeline. Sometimes the timeline is longer than I want it to be because we tend to be impatient around manifestation. So it may take longer than you think, but practice being the emotion. Like, let me say it this way. Whatever you want to create, if you want, what you want is a ranch, how will you feel when you have the ranch? Calm, relaxed, focused, empowered, proud. Whatever those emotions are, you will feel when you have that thing that you put in the chat that you want to create. Feeling and normalizing those emotions in your body right now is how you receive more abundance. So hold the energy and the emotions. The most powerful way to do that is through a visualization practice. If you're not practicing visualization, I would love to support you in this, because visualization is a misnomer. People think you have to be able to visualize to be able, or like to see a movie in your mind to be able to visualize. But like blind people can't see movies and they can still visualize. So it's really just about holding the energy, the emotions, creating a sensorized experience in a way that works for you. Like, I have a client that really has trouble seeing things in her mind, so she draws pictures. And that works for her. She literally, like with colored pencils, draws a scene, and that's her visualization practice, because she's in the emotion and she's like, oh yeah, what would it smell like when I'm on this beautiful hill that I just drew and I'm outside and the sun is shining? What would the breeze smell like? So she can be in that sensorized and emotional place through whatever visualization technique works for you. And oh, I already said this, but can you feel abundant when you only have $5 to your name? When you can feel that you have abundance, that is when you have the mastery of manifestation. So, how to start manifesting? Here's the simple 4-step process. One is get clear on your real desire. Again, this is something you want because you want it, no other reason. Step two, visualize it every single day in whatever way works for you. Again, if you want some support in visualization, please let me know. Visualization is like a muscle that we stopped using as children. So the more you practice, the easier it gets. But really, the point of visualization is about getting into the emotions and using all five senses. And the reason why the emotions and the five senses are important is your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between the media that you consume, reality, and your imagination. Your subconscious all thinks that it's real. Random tangent and side note, be very thoughtful about the themes and around the content that you're consuming. I had a friend that struggled with really significant anxiety, and I had known her for years, and she mentioned something to me. She's like, "Oh, I love these like serial killer murder mystery podcasts." And I look at her, I was like, "No wonder you have anxiety." And she was like, "No, no, no, they're not related. I've had anxiety my whole life. I just like these podcasts." And I was like, "Would you like to take a challenge?" And I was like, "Stop listening to them for 1 month and then just notice, like, rate your anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10. Stop watching murder mystery podcasts about serial killers, and then measure your anxiety a month later." And her anxiety had gone down by 75% just by reducing the. So just notice all the media, the podcasts, the books, the movies, the TV. Your subconscious mind thinks that's real and it's subliminally messaging you. And so one of the so random tangent, but I'm feeling very compelled to share this. I had to stop watching the show Bob's Burgers. I love like adult cartoons, and Bob's Burgers, it's this adorable family, but the theme and the moral of the story is life is hard. Bad things are happening to us all the time that are financially destroying my business, but we get through it together as a family. And I started realizing that's the theme of every episode on the show. And I was like, I don't want that theme in my life. That's literally like bad things happen to me and then we struggle through it. So like a good TV show, you put yourself as a character in it. So I don't want to be programming in my subconscious mind that bad things are happening to me financially, but we'll get through together as a family. So I removed that content. It was a little bit of a tangent, but I felt very compelled to share that. So your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between your imagination and reality. So the more you visualize, the more you use your imagination to paint the picture of what you want to create, you're creating it in your mind, and everything needs to be created twice, once in your mind and once in the real world. So the more you picture it in your mind, the more you can create it in the real world. And this is exactly what was so helpful for me when when I was manifesting my clinic. I had already created it in my mind, so real. My subconscious thought I already owned the clinic. And so as soon as I got into action, it was literally handed to me on a silver platter. So step number 3 in how you start manifesting is you release resistance. I do this with my clients using neuroscience to get there farther, faster, easier. But honestly, and what releasing resistance means is getting your beliefs and your emotions in alignment with your desires. Because oftentimes we go through life saying consciously, I want to be abundant. And this is where our conscious mind is. But our subconscious and our beliefs and our emotions are running the show. And they're, we have beliefs around living paycheck to paycheck, or the scarcity that we had as our kids, or the beliefs money doesn't grow on trees. And this is like, we want to be abundant, but we're stuck in the emotion and the belief of being broke or whatever that is. And if this was a fishing pole, this is not a very effective way to cast out a hook. So all we need to do is to release resistance, release whatever it is that we need to get in alignment, get our beliefs and emotions in alignment with our desires. And then that's why it's so easy for me to manifest whatever I want, because I'm in alignment. So I can just throw my hook out. And it's not just me. I've helped dozens and dozens of clients get there and truly manifest their dreams. So like I said, I do this with resistance. Honestly, visualization itself, if you visualize every day, you eventually release the resistance because you're getting the beliefs and emotions in alignment. but you could do emotion code, EFT. I don't really care what you do. You can do any way of releasing resistance. Just keep focusing on step 4, which is taking action on your dream. Baby steps at a time, but consistent, like we're talking about wealth, consistent compounding action. Like when we're talking about it in money, like that's how investing works. And then credit cards can be crushing. You can do that with tiny actions in your everyday life. So the universe rewards quick action. So there is a principle that the universe loves speed. And the quicker you can get from an idea to the implementation, you actually dramatically increase the success of whatever that idea is. So your dreams are waiting for you, and it's time to start manifesting whatever it is you want: the ranch, the house, the travel, your car, your redesigned office, whatever that is that's calling you. Your dreams are waiting. So it's great. It's a good time to get into action right now. So if you're ready to make 2025 your year, I would love to teach you how to be a manifesting machine, because we go from here. Let me share with you how, like, what being a manifesting machine actually is. We go from I want abundance, which is the place you're probably in right now that inspired you to get on this, where you're manifesting, but sometimes it's what you want and sometimes it's what you don't want. And that you're in a place of I want abundance. When you consistently practice the tools that I taught you today that are coming in the resources and the recording, you get to a place where I have abundance. You're in the practice of manifesting. But truly, to become a manifesting machine, we need to shift your energy and emotions using neuroscience to get to the place where you are abundance itself already. That's when you're a manifesting machine. And it feels like the I dream of genie, like whatever your wish is, it you air whatever your wish is, it's the universe's command and things show up in your life. So that's truly what being a manifesting machine is. And I would welcome you to sign up for a free manifesting machine discovery call. I'll pop a link in the chat if you want to get scheduled. This is a free 30-minute manifesting machine call with me, normally $197. Oh, I clicked on the link. There we go. Hold on. Let me go back to sharing my screen. Well, you guys can still see it. I need to take the link out. I accidentally clicked it. Anyways, it's normally $197. I have very limited times on my calendar right now, so I recommend signing up as quickly as you can. You can scan the QR code or use the link in the chat. There'll also be a link in the email of the recording. But you need to like sign up for this call. You don't need to complete the call by Memorial Day, but you need to sign up for the call by Memorial Day, because then I'm going to close my calendar. And the purpose of this call is to teach you at least one tool, if not multiple tools, that you can start using today to become a manifesting machine. And if it feels like it's a good fit, if you want to learn more, I can share with you a roadmap of how I can support you in being a manifesting machine consistently for your dreams. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Oh, there we go. For taking the time today to be here. And if you have any questions, let me pause the recording. We're like right at time. Let me pause the recording and feel free to ask any questions you have.